At first, Nigerians forgave him for all that transpired between 83-ish to 85. And he had a part of redemption. And he made mistakes again. I'll talk about the Umar Diko affair, where we used the Israelis to bring Umar Diko back in a crate. And that affair was botched at Stansted. And Britain felt that we're violating their sovereignty. That affair didn't just stop at Umar Diko. It led to impounding planes in both countries. And a lot of people have said it relates to it, but I don't think it relates to it. There's no real link. But you know, about a year after, that was when in February 86, that was when Britain stopped, allowing free entry to Nigerians. You had to get a visa. That was a blight in our history. Also Decree 4 for journalists. The way journalists were treated. If you were on the receiving end, it was not a good one. People that were beaten on the streets for why? Were against indiscipline. That was not a good one. The governors that were incarcerated. And that's why, if you read the memoirs of Sir Bisi Akande, what he went through, and the fact that he could still even come around with Buhari to do this coalition thing, it was not an easy one for them. I remember how they had to sell him that he was a reform Democrat. But Buhari did not show those vestiges when he got power. The way judges were arrested, raided in the night, the things that happened, the way he allowed the economy of this country go down. It was a do-it-yourself recession. Nigeria had no problems. President Buhari for 6 months. At first, Mr. Femi Adesina, same Mr. Femi Adesina that has the temerity to tell us that if he was a Nigerian doctors, he will have long passed.
Yes.
This same government that told us that they were clearing the Ogian stable. For 6 months, they didn't have ministers, so there was no leadership. And with due respect, Mr. Femi Adesina, it's best you don't even say things like that to us in Nigeria. Because the same hospital where Buhari died, there are Nigerians working there. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? How about you talk about providing centers of excellence in Nigeria? When they set up the federal medical centers, we're not supposed to be centers of excellence. Which country that we like to compare ourselves with when Boris Johnson was sick of COVID, he went to St. Thomas.
Yes, in Nunbridge.
Trump goes to Water Ridge.
Exactly.
Why would you tell us something like that? And the fact is, Nigerians work in the hospital Buhari died. So are you thinking those Nigerians can bring their competency if we make it available for us to be able to do things properly? So don't tell us things like that. Then EndSARS happened, which is unforgivable. We have never healed from EndSARS. You see, healing comes from, and you remember you were right when you were talking about healing yesterday, but in response to healing comes from justice, Vimbai.
Truth, justice, and reconciliation.
People have not seen justice being done. Does anyone what happened in EndSARS? Yes, money was given. Money is not justice. Money for lives, limbs that were broken, 5-10 million naira, is that what will bring justice back? Justice is acceptance of hurts. So if Nigeria want to heal, leaders will learn to tell the truth. So we celebrate him, but his life also shows for other leaders coming at the back that, see, there's a lot of work to be done, and we must be careful. Life is dynamic because as long as you live, you are many things to many people. Some see him as a hero, but some see him otherwise. Those that he called a dot in the circle see him otherwise. Those that he said will treat in the language they understand see him otherwise. That led to the ban of Twitter in this country because people had to report that tweet and it was deleted, and they felt, oh, how would they delete the tweet of a president? Those that were caught in the web of Decree 4 see him otherwise. Omar Diko see him otherwise. the likes of the politicians that were incarcerated after the 83 elections, about 84 when he got in, don't see him as a hero. But some will see him as a disciplined man, anti-corruption hero. But people will also talk about that legacy and say, but people around him were corrupt. So they talk about being above board like Caesar's wife, but people around you are being tried for corruption, also speaks volume. People he incarcerated for political vendetta. People he tried to terminate their lives. The judges in the dead of the night that were harassed, that everybody said, this is an assault on our judiciary. Seem otherwise. But those that were close to him say, he's a father. They'd even stretch it and say, the father of the nation. Those that believed in him prior to 2015 felt once he got that mandate, he was going to set Nigeria right. But what heralded is 8 years. Deepening of division, pain, lack of economic gusto and verve, lack of that economic fecundity. And even this current government blames him for the problems they are in now. So with great power comes great responsibility. But do leaders that seek power understand the responsibility, or they just want to be president? Those that see him as a hero will say at least he allowed for fairness in the electoral process. But that argument is also quickly punctured by the fact that he didn't sign the electoral reforms leading up to the 2019 elections where he was going to participate in. But they will also say, at least under him, oppositions could win governorship election. In fact, some governor in the opposition went to thank him. Some will say things like, oh, the electricity bill. Some will also say he did infrastructure, at least if not because of him. We'll not have railway, will not have the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. I will not have other infrastructure like that. That he did more thread of roads than anybody. But while we also talk about the rail line, some will also argue, where was there a need for the Kanu-Maradi line? President Buhari, when he ascended the throne in 2015, made the famous words that I am for everybody and for nobody. But some said he was actually for some people. He quoted Shakespeare saying there's a tide in the affairs of man. And we thought he had set the tone for the country he wanted to build. But today, like two sides of a coin, there are two sides to history of President Buhari. There will be those that will say, Veni, vidi, vici.
Okay. So?
But there will be those that will say, President Buhari, you caused pain, hurt, division, unfairness, and unkindness. Whatever part you take this morning, please remember something. We will all die. And what will be said after we're gone?